Good evening and welcome to the Connecticut Department of Transportation's public information meeting for project number 63726, Rehabilitation of Bridge number 1469B, carrying I-91 southbound over the Connecticut Southern Railroad, SR 598 westbound, and TR803 in the city of Hartford. My name is Michelle Lynch and I'm a project manager with the Connecticut Department of Transportation. I would like to welcome everyone who's taken the time to tune in for tonight's presentation. We hope this will be informative and we're able to answer all your questions and concerns so you'll have a better understanding of the project. Before I get into the presentation and introduce the project team, I would like to go over a few housekeeping items and explain tonight's format. Our presentation will last approximately 30 minutes. And once it's completed, we'll host a live question and answer session. You will have three means of communicating with us during the live Q&A session. You can send an email, leave a voicemail, or if you're watching this on MS Teams, you can post your questions in the chat field to the right of your screen. The project team will monitor the project email, phone, and chat periodically during the presentation and Q&A session. The questions asked by any of these means will be posted to the MS Teams Q&A chat window. We will read all questions out loud for the project team to answer. You can ask questions at any time during the presentation, but all questions will be answered during the live Q&A session. As I mentioned, there are three means of communicating with the project team. Email, which is gotproject63-726@ct.gov. Telephone, which number is 860-944-1111. And please include the project number 63-726 in your message. And if you joined us using the MS Teams Live, you can also use the chat function, which I will explain on the next slide. A recording of tonight's entire presentation, including the Q&A session, will be stored on the project website. The web page can be found at portal.ct.gov/DOT Hartford 63-726. Lastly, please remember that you can ask questions or provide comments through August 3rd, 2021. Via either email or telephone. The MS chat function is only available during tonight's live Q&A session. For those of you joining us through the MS Teams live chat event, there's a chat function available that allows you to ask questions and communicate with us. In this format, you can ask a question by clicking on the little question mark, which is Show Q&A. This will bring up your live event Q&A field. This is shown in the picture on the right of the slide. Select the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen and a field will pop up where you can type your question and then hit either Enter or the little arrow button to send. You can also check the box at the bottom to post your question anonymously if you prefer. There will be a slight delay, but eventually your question will appear in the featured section with all the other questions asked tonight. Please remember that the MS Teams chat function is only available during the live Q&A session tonight. Thank you for bearing with me while I went over the ground rules. I would now like to begin the presentation by introducing the project team. From the Connecticut Department of Transportation, we have Bart Sweeney, the Division Chief of Bridges. His photo is in the top left of your screen. To the right of him is Timothy Fields, Principal Engineer of the Major Bridge Unit. My photo is next. Again, my name is Michelle Lynch and I am the project manager. Next is May Wong, project engineer. Close Jensen and Miller, or CJM, is the department's designer on this project. The photo in the lower left is Thomas Ryan, the project manager for CJM. And next is John Miller II, the project engineer, also from CJM. You will hear from Tom and John later this evening as they explain the proposed project. We would like you to know that no person shall, on the basis of race, color, or national origin, be excluded from participation or subject to discrimination in the development of this project, and that there is a civil rights flyer available. We would also greatly appreciate if you could fill out the voluntary post-meeting survey the department has through SurveyMonkey. The results of the survey will help us improve these public meetings going forward. The links to both the civil rights flyer and the survey are located on the previously mentioned project webpage. A recording of the formal presentation will be posted to YouTube after the live event. Closed captioning, including non-English translation options, will be available at that time. Now I'll turn the presentation over to John Miller from CJM.
Thank you, Michelle. The bridge is shown here, circled in red. It is an 1,800-foot long I-91 southbound viaduct located at the junction of the Whitehead Highway in the capital area of Hartford. You see our bridge here in Hartford looking down at it. Our bridge is this piece right here, I-91 southbound. It extends as far north as just outside the convention center garage. And to the south, nearly as far as the entrance to the Colts building. It's an 1,800-foot long I-91 southbound viaduct. The limits of our project are shown here in red. The bridge includes a portion of the southbound on-ramp from the Whitehead Highway. It does not include I-91 northbound or the northbound capital area off-ramp. This slide shows terms used to describe bridge components. Our bridge is 33 spans long with abutment support walls at the beginning and ends. There are 32 piers which support the steel beam superstructure and the bridge deck. The bridge was built in the early 1960s. It is 33 spans long, and this includes 18 spans of the southbound on-ramp from Whitehead Highway. The total average daily traffic on the 3 lanes in the southbound direction is approximately 48,000 vehicles per day. The photo on the left looks south towards the Colts building. The photo on the right looks north towards Riverwalk Plaza. The photo on the left shows our bridge crossing over the northbound ramps to and from Whitehead Highway. The photo on the right shows a typical median area between our southbound viaduct and the adjacent northbound viaduct. The aerial view shown on the left looks to the south from the roof of the Convention Center parking garage down at our bridge. The photo on the right is from Van Dyke Avenue in the vicinity of the Colts building, looking north along our bridge as it crosses over Connecticut Southern Railroad. The photo on the left shows the bridge crossing over the northbound on-ramp from Whitehead Highway. The photo on the right shows the bridge over Connecticut Southern Railroad and the railroad tunnel located at our north abutment. These photos show conditions that are typical of the concrete and bituminous patch areas found throughout the top side of the bridge deck. These photos, taken from the Connecticut Bridge Safety Inspection Report, indicate that portions of the 60-year-old reinforced concrete bridge deck have reached an advanced stage of deterioration. These areas are considered to be in poor condition. The bridge is currently safe for travel. However, the conditions shown need to be addressed, and this project will do just that. This slide shows typical views of the existing steel superstructure. Rolled steel beams are shown on the left. Welded plate girders are shown on the right. Here we show the existing substructure. On the left, you see pier steel bents that support rolled steel beams, and on the right, you see reinforced concrete piers that support the welded plate girders. In this slide on the left, you see typical rusting and deterioration of the steel bent column bracing. The photo on the right shows a typical pier bent column located at the outlet of a downspout from the bridge deck drainage system. Here we show an existing plan and elevation view of the first 15 spans. This represents the south third of the bridge, which includes the southbound on-ramp from Whitehead Highway. These typical sections are taken at the south third of the bridge, and they show the variation in the bridge width as the on-ramp merges with I-91 southbound. This slide shows approximately 600 feet of the middle third of this 1,800-foot long southbound viaduct bridge. From left to right, these are span numbers 16 to 29. Note that the portion of the Whitehead Highway southbound on-ramp viaduct that is included in this project terminates at span number 18, or about 120 feet from the left side of this plan view. This is a cross-section of the middle third of the bridge. In this area, the width of the bridge is approximately 43 feet, measured between the inside face of the bridge parapets, or curb. And here you see a plan and elevation view of the north third of the bridge. These are welded plate girders supported on reinforced concrete piers. This shows a typical bridge cross-section of the welded plate girder portion of the superstructure. These girders support 3 lanes of I-91 southbound in the north third of this 1,800-foot long viaduct. The State of Connecticut Department of Transportation Bridge Safety Division inspects and rates bridge components in accordance with federally recognized safety criteria. As I mentioned previously, the current rating of the deck is a 4, which is considered poor. This is due to the advanced stage of deterioration that exists in the 60-year-old reinforced concrete slab. The steel superstructure is currently rated a 5, which is considered fair. This is due to the rusted areas of the beams and the localized deficiencies which are noted. The substructure, or piers and abutments, is also rated fair. This rating is primarily due to the steel section loss in the rusted steel pier bents and bracing. All of these bridge components are currently considered to be safe to the traveling public. To verify the existing deck conditions, ground penetrating radar, or GPR, was performed to determine areas of concrete deterioration. The results show in blue the deterioration exists throughout the viaduct. In addition, the GPR was used to verify that the majority of the original reinforced concrete slab is a non-composite design. This is not desirable by current design practice since it can result in concrete deck movements which are independent of the steel superstructure under live loads. This is known as slapping, and there is evidence in the field that this is occurring in some areas of the deteriorated deck. We looked at possible alternatives to replace the bridge or to replace the superstructure. Due to the heavy traffic and the limited available work area, both of these alternatives were deemed impractical for this site. The selected rehabilitation scope was determined to be to replace the deck with precast concrete deck panels and to repair and strengthen the steel pier bents as necessary to bring the bridge rating up to a good state of repair. Utility impacts, railroad impacts, permitting, and rights of way were all considered. We do not feel there will be any utility, environmental, or right-of-way impacts. We do anticipate in coordination with the Connecticut Southern Railroad. The next 2 slides show sections of the 2-stage construction sequence that is proposed to set the precast deck panels. A video presentation will further illustrate the traffic maintenance and construction scheme. All travel lanes will be maintained during the AM and PM weekday and weekend peak traffic hours. This slide shows stage 1 on weekdays. A lane closure occurs at 7 p.m., followed by a second lane closure at 10 p.m., and all lanes are restored for 6 a.m. traffic. This slide shows the stage 2 construction sequence on a weekend. Note there is slightly more time available for the construction on weekends. This is a typical section of the existing pier bents that will be rehabilitated in this project. Drilled concrete micropiles will support a new concrete footing and a reinforced concrete encasement around the existing pile columns. These additional support measures will allow the existing bracing members that have deteriorated to be removed in the final condition. The next two slides show the proposed traffic maintenance scheme that will be used to close travel lanes at the north end as you approach the bridge. This is stage one. This information will also be shown in the video. This slide shows stage two. Nightly closures of the State Street on-ramp to I-91 southbound are proposed during construction. This will only occur at night, and the ramp will be opened during daytime hours. Traffic will be detoured as shown in red south on Columbus Boulevard to the Whitehead Highway southbound on-ramp to I-91 southbound. It is anticipated that some vehicles from the Connecticut Convention Center loading dock area will need to use the route shown in purple. The nightly construction timeline was closely considered to verify the feasibility of removing and replacing sections of the existing deck during the limited available work periods. A total of 220 nights is anticipated based on this demolition methodology and the panel placement scheme we envision. The following video gives an overview of this process. To illustrate the general maintenance of traffic scheme that we're looking to use, I'll show you a video that we found on YouTube. It's a similar project for a bridge in Virginia along I-95. In this view, you see all lanes are open during daytime hours. And then when it's time to take a lane out of service, this is what's used to move a temporary precast concrete barrier curb and take the lane out of service, which you'll see shortly here. And while this is happening, traffic can continue to the right and left of the barrier transfer machine, which is what this is called. So what you see is a lane taken out of service during off-peak hours with traffic maintained. Their case is much like ours, where they needed 2 lanes out of service, so they return the barrier transfer machine back to the point of beginning and make the same movement a second time to take the second lane out of service. And that's what's happening here. Their site was very much like ours in that it has an off-ramp right at the entrance to the bridge. And you can see that off-ramp is maintained during these movements. For comparison, this is what the entrance to our site looks like, and nearly identical. We'll be doing the same thing, where we'll use the barrier transfer machine to take this lane out of service, and then a second lane, all while leaving traffic flowing on 91 southbound and the off-ramp. The construction that took place during the nighttime hours involved bringing in a new deck, saw cutting the concrete, removing and setting the deck, and preparing for opening the roadway and returning the temporary precast barrier back to its original position, with all lanes then are opened in the daytime hours. The procedure for stage 2 is the same thing. We will be shifting the barrier from right to left and taking the right lane out of service. There is an off-ramp right at the bridge on that side that we intend to keep in service during construction. This video shows the actual site during a condition with the State Street on-ramp closed and the capital area exit remaining open, while the 2 lanes on the right side of the bridge as you approach from the north are closed. Our traffic pattern will be much like what you see here, with the exception that the cones would actually be the precast concrete barrier that would be transferred by the barrier transfer machine. As you get further south along the viaduct, we do pick up the portion of the on-ramp bridge that is over here to the right, and that is also part of this project. And to do that work, we have extra width in this area where we can shift traffic to one side or the other to allow us to perform the remaining portions of the deck as stage 2A and 2B with some lane closures and little impact to traffic. Again, stage 1, we build the left lane and up to the center line of the main viaduct there as you approach from the north. In stage 2, we build the right lane and from the center line to the right, and as well as the on-ramp portion of the viaduct. We looked at traffic data in the area of the bridge in order to find what hours had the least amount of cars and which entrance and off ramps or streets we might look to utilize to perform this work. And what we found is we would want to, the yellow shows peak hour AM and peak hour PM. In general, we would need full lanes during those hours throughout the site. We did, however, find there were, in the case of the State Street on-ramp, the traffic counts were greatly reduced, as little as no cars per hour from 4 to 5 a.m. So we feel comfortable proposing a closure of the State Street on-ramp. We would leave this off-ramp open to the capital area, but the on-ramp would be used by the barrier transfer machine to access the site with a closure across here, and you're looking back towards the old State House. This is the area where we're looking to use. And all lanes would be returned to, they would be open during the daytime hours, including the State Street on-ramp. That's a general overview. Thank you for your attention, and appreciate your, in advance, appreciate your questions. The construction is estimated to cost slightly less than $59 million with 100% state funding. We anticipate construction will begin in 2023 in the spring, and it will complete in the fall of 2025. And please note this schedule is preliminary and it's predicated on the availability of funding. Thank you.
Thank you, John. This concludes the formal presentation portion of tonight's meeting. Thank you for your time and attention. As I mentioned, there are 3 means of communicating with the project team. Email, which is dotproject63-726@ct.gov. Telephone, 860-944-1111. And if you joined us using the MS Teams Live, you can also use the chat function. If you're joining us on YouTube, a link to the webpage is located in the project's description. A recording of tonight's entire presentation, including the Q&A session, will be stored on the project webpage. The webpage can be found at portal.ct.gov/DOT Hartford 63-726. Lastly, please remember that you can ask questions and provide comments through August 3rd, 2021 via either email or telephone. The MS Teams chat function is only available during tonight's live Q&A session. For those of you joining us through the MS Teams live event, there is a chat function available that allows you to ask questions and communicate with us. In this format, you can ask a question by clicking on the little question mark, which is Show Q&A. This will bring up your live event Q&A field. This is shown in the picture to the right of the slide. Select the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen, and a field will pop up where you can type your question. And then either hit Enter or the little arrow button to send. You can also check the box at the bottom to post your question anonymously if you prefer. There will be a slight delay, but eventually your question will appear in the featured section with all the other questions asked tonight. Please remember that the MS Teams chat function is only available during the live Q&A session tonight. We will now begin the live Q&A session. All questions will be posted to the MS Teams Q&A chat field. To view the questions, click the Feature tab in the live event MS Teams Q&A. All questions submitted tonight will be read aloud and receive a verbal response. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We look forward to answering your questions. As mentioned before, there are several ways to submit your questions. Email, which is dotproject63-726@ct.gov. Phone, 860-944-1111. And if you're joining us on MS Teams, you can use the chat function to ask your question. For those of you joining us on YouTube, links to the webpage and survey are located in the project description. Just click on Show More, and you'll also find the email and phone number. Receiving feedback is important to us. Please consider filling out the brief voluntary post-meeting survey. The link is on the website and will also be posted in the featured questions. Okay, I'm seeing our first question for tonight is, how and when would the public be notified on the starting of construction? I think Tom is going to answer that.
Sure, Michelle, thank you. The department's district construction office will issue public notice of the start of construction, and the CONDOT website for the project will also publish advisory notices and the progress of the project and anticipated activities, as well as give contact personnel for the construction people that you could contact if you have questions or issues.
Thank you, Tom. Again, feel free to email us your questions. Our email is dotproject63-726@ct.gov. Phone number 860-944-1111. And you can also use the chat function. At this point, I see we have another question that was sent in through email. And it is, you mentioned night work during the presentation. What is the time period of the night work? So I think Tom is going to answer that.
Yep, sure. Yes, night work on the deck and roadway is anticipated to be performed. The hours will be from 7 p.m. until 6 a.m. weekdays and 8 a.m. on weekends. The work below the bridge will not have time restrictions, but could be done during the week, during the daytime or nighttime, or on weekends as well.
Thank you, Tom. I see we have another phone question. How will the state coordinate the project with the city of Hartford? I think John is going to answer that.
Thank you, Michelle. Yes, John Miller, CJM. The city engineer and his staff will absolutely be coordinated with the Greater Hartford Flood Commission and the facilities that the city maintains, the levee along the dike and the flood control from the Connecticut River. Those portions below our bridge are owned by the city, so we will absolutely be working with them to coordinate this work with them. We've already reached out to learn more about their needs and how we can assure that we'll provide that access at all times to them. We also will be working closely with the City Traffic Division. We'll be providing progress plans, special provisions for city review and comment throughout the design phase. Once the project is advertised and awarded, regular meetings will be held, including safety meetings, construction meetings. We'll have a need, likely local police. So all of these, in all these areas, the city will be invited to attend the meetings. They'll be a big player in this project from beginning to end. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I'm seeing another question. I think this was sent in by email. Is how noisy will this work be and how will you try to control the noise? I think Tom is going to respond to that.
Sure. Yeah, thank you, Michelle. We do anticipate noise. We will be saw cutting, jackhammering. There'll be some noisy activities during the evenings as well as the morning hours. Noise will be limited to 90 decibels. This is OSHA's permissible exposure limit for all workers for an 8-hour day. So we anticipate that with the proximity of the housing and the low level, it shouldn't be an issue. Again, if it does become problematic, you can discuss with the district construction personnel. They're going to be available on site every day, as well as the contact phone numbers will be put onto the website. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Tom. Just remember, you can continue to send in your questions. Email is dotproject63-726@ct.gov. Phone number 860-944-1111. Those will be open until August 3rd. So if you don't get your question in tonight, you can certainly, send it in later, and we'll be monitoring those for the next 2 weeks and including those answers in our reported meeting. If you're on MS Teams, you can use the chat function, but that is only available during tonight's meeting. For those of you joining us on YouTube, there's links to the webpage and the survey located in the project description. You just have to click on Show More and you'll find the email and the phone number. You can always just copy and paste the email right into your browser. Receiving your feedback is important. So if you could just fill out the brief survey, there's a link on the website, which is portal.ct.gov/DOT Hartford 63-726. And also, I believe we'll be posting it in the featured questions. I see we have another question. Will there be coordination with emergency services response during the work, and will access be provided from I-91 to the local hospital? I believe John is going to answer that.
Thanks for the question. Absolutely. There'll be coordination throughout the project. Police will be invited to attend safety meetings. We'll be working closely with all those teams, police, fire, and ambulance, particularly with Hartford Hospital proximity to the project. For that reason, we do plan to leave the off-ramp open from southbound as it serves the capital area there and the nearby Hartford Hospital. But again, throughout the project, there will be regular, in advance of construction, progress meetings, safety meetings, and we'll certainly be looking for feedback from the emergency response and verification that the measures we have are effective throughout the construction. Not only for, I don't think we'll see much impact to the St. Francis Hospital off 84, but primarily traffic coming from the north north of Hartford, down 91. That's our primary concern, and for that reason, as I said, the capital area exit is proposed to be maintained in service during this construction. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I see another question, I guess came in through the chat. When will the construction start? If you go to, I think it's slide 45. We're scheduled to start in the spring of 2023 and be completed by fall of 2025. So it's a 2-season job. I mean, it's a large bridge. There's 33 spans and 2 stages of construction. So it'll still be fairly accelerated considering the amount of work that we're doing out there. I see we have a phone question. Why will this construction project take 2 years to finish, and why can't it go any faster? Would Tom or John like to take that one?
Yeah, Michelle, I'll field that. Thank you again. The work is limited by the traffic maintenance. You know, we looked hard at the numbers of vehicles and are trying to avoid backups at night to keep safety in mind. That being said, the constraint for setup times for the traffic barriers, signing, lighting, nightly mobilization of the equipment, that limits production. Additionally, the magnitude of the project, it's 1,800 feet long, and we're doing it in 2 stages. We've done similar projects in the past, so we're familiar with this type of construction, so it's not brand new. And we also have some exposure to estimating times of work. We feel pretty comfortable with our estimates. Construction may be completed faster, and we'll consider offering incentives to the contractor for early completion. But at this time, you know, I'm not so sure that it's going to be possible to bring it in much earlier. Thank you again.
Thanks, Tom. As I mentioned before, we are here to take your questions. For the YouTube audience, there are links to the webpage and survey and the project description. You can also joining us on MS Teams. You can use the chat function, and we'll publish your question. We'll read it out loud and get it into the chat with a verbal response. And you can also use email, dotproject63-726@ct.gov, or the phone number 860-944-1111, where you can leave a voicemail. The email and phone are available for your comments and questions until August 3rd. We'd appreciate it if you could fill out our brief survey. There's a link on the website and also in the featured questions. Your feedback is important to us. Again, the project webpage is portal.ct.gov/DOT Hartford 63-726. At this time, the questions are certainly slowing down. We're thinking about wrapping up. So if you have questions to be submitted tonight, you can get those in. We have people monitoring the email and the chat. Also checking the phone line. And the email and the chat and the phone line will be open until August 3rd. So you can provide your questions then. You know, it might be easier for you to provide a more detailed question through email. And we could also, you know, if we need to contact you for a clarification or a follow-up, we can also do that if you do submit an email. Again, you know, we're here for your questions. You can join us. If you're joining us on MS Teams, feel free to use the chat function. You can also send an email, dotproject63-726@ct.gov. And the phone is 860-944-1111. You can leave a voicemail. If you're leaving a voicemail after the meeting, just reference the project number, again, 63-726. And those will be available until August 3rd. The YouTube audience as well. Just go to the project description, click on show more. You'll get the webpage, the survey, email, phone number, anything you need to submit your comments or questions. We also have a voluntary post-meeting survey. There's a link on the website and also in the featured questions. At this time, we thank you for tuning in tonight, and like I said, feel free to send us any questions you have. We're probably going to be wrapping up shortly because we seem to have answered all the questions that have been submitted. But remember, you can still leave a voicemail or send an email until August 3rd. Thanks for participating in tonight's public information meeting. We hope you found it to be informative. A recording of tonight's entire presentation, including the Q&A session, will be stored on the project webpage. A report of meeting will also be posted with all the questions and responses. The webpage can be found at portal.dot.ct.gov/DOT Hartford 63-726. I encourage you to participate in our brief survey. A link to the survey can be found on the webpage along with the phone number and email. Remember, you can provide questions and comments until August 3rd. Again, thanks for your attention and have a great evening.